What on earth have we just been subjected to for the last 3 hours? I don't know whether to be praising of the likes of Saquon and Vic Fangio and Jalen Carter and Quinion Mitchell for a defensive masterclass, or to rip into Nick Sirianni and to get into whatever Jalen Hurts is doing and just let it all out because this isn't acceptable. Because my gut instinct after that game is telling me that, again, like I said last week, that this is a carbon copy of what we saw in 2023, where the team scraped wins that they really should be losing and they just about get through. And then eventually the wheels come off and it all collapses. Only this time, that like, instead of starting with a fully stable vehicle and they're just trundling down the road with a few bumps, the wheels are all over the place already. And I don't know how to broach it and where to start. But the main thing we have to start with is that the Eagles won. So they come away from a road trip to New Orleans against one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL, where Derek Carr had, coming into this game, engineered every single drive to end in a point score, which is unbelievable. They were firing at a full clip. Alvin Kamara had like 5 touchdowns through 2 weeks. Chris Olave was a little less, I guess, visible over that time. But when you've got Rashid Shaheed doing what he does and Jawan Johnson stepping up, that Saints offense was menacing. The O-line was good. And to come out of that game having only conceded minimal points until the very end, it was 3 points for most of the game until that last kind of hurrah, you can only be optimistic. Like, I think let's just start with that before we get into the rest of it. And I promise I will get to some of your comments. Really quickly, just beforehand, I know I was going to do a watch along today. Probably best for my sanity that we didn't, given the way that went. But essentially, a really annoying story. I dropped my iPad off a table, the charger snapped, and it's the only cable I have long enough to reach from my PowerPoint over there to here, and I can't stream a game on my computer while I'm also live streaming because it just bugs out completely and I look like a pixel of a potato. So, yeah, I had to choose peace and decide to just watch the game. And then I thought I was choosing peace to come that and then just do a post-game stream afterwards. But I think that might be just as absolutely chaotic. But again, we'll start with the positives before we get into the nitty and gritty from this matchup. Unbelievable play from that defense. I think Jalen Carter played his ass off. I think the whole defense played their ass off. Zach Bourne is getting a plaque on my wall at this point. We've bigged him up all off season. He's come out of the gate swinging. He's had 2 out of the 3 exceptional performances. 1 that was all right. You can't ask for more than that. Quinion Mitchell looks like a CB1 out there. Some of the plays he made today were nothing short of brilliant, and just the aura, the confidence that he carries are only reflective of those, elite cornerbacks in this league. He's really done well to not only take that role, I guess, from Isaiah Rodgers, but to put his own name on it and assure that it's not just a temporary thing. Like, there was a point, obviously, going into week 1, we were unsure. It was Isaiah Rodgers is your starting CB1 or CB2 even, and Quinion Mitchell just comes in as a pinch because for some reason Rodgers is a bit hampered with something. And all of a sudden it's his role, and the Eagles have never looked back, which has been absolutely the right decision. Up front, I think Jordan Davis had a good game, and no one will talk about that because of agendas probably from, the naysayers of the world that he's too fat and too lazy and yada, yada, yada. He had a great day, generated a lot of pressure. Jalen Carter was just a machine. That's the best game I've seen from him. And I think the biggest thing was, again, all of the criticisms we had about that defense, particularly that last drive against Atlanta, when they just gave up, 6 passing plays to give up that touchdown and seal the game. Vic Fangio came out and, like everyone else, said that he was accountable and was going to learn and the typical, spiel, but he actually did. And the defense played remarkably well. Like, they got that locked down. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson almost had a fantastic play early on. Reed Blankenship cemented the game with one of his trademark break on the route, come underneath and snatch that pass. He was excellent. The defense was a defense. It was defending. It was stopping, and at its core essence, which is what it's meant to do. They were brilliant, like across the board. I think I've got a single complaint defensively about that team. There is not a single bad word I could say about a player on that defense today. I think everyone played brilliant. Like, Milton Williams was another one. Occasionally would just jump out with a play. Nakobe Dean had 1 whiff I think, against Chris Olave early on, where he kind of sat two down and couldn't jump back onto an out route. But again, apart from that, made up for it in a multitude of ways. The whole defense did. And that's what I would expect to come from anyone. And if the offense could just, be mildly competent at their jobs for more than 5 minutes, we could be sat here saying about how amazing it was that this defense took on the high-flying Saints who've put up 50 burgers, it feels like, just for fun. No effort. It's like they're playing Madden on easy difficulty. You hold them to a field goal all game until that very end. You do everything. Alvin Kamara was a non-factor for most of that matchup. And we can sit here and say how brilliant it was and how great this team responded from adversity. But instead it gets mired by whatever Nick Sirianni is doing on offense. If there's ever a game where your defense is going to win you something, I do not expect it to be against an offense that has been that dominant and that explosive. And the Panthers, you can say, all right, it's the Panthers, everyone's going to beat them. You can't say that for the Cowboys. Not the defense, at least. And they did exactly the same. So I did not expect the Eagles defense to put on the show they did. The main concern was, again, through 2 weeks, they've given up more rushing yards than they ever have in history. Since 1986. It's the most rushing yards they've given up through 2 games to start the year since 1986. And they bottled up Alvin Kamara for fun. And they got pressure to Derek Carr over and over again. And they broke up passes. And they intercepted passes. And there were just key plays all over that field. Cannot say enough good words about that defense. So I just wanted to start with that. Let's start with the positives. They won. The defense and Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert won them the game. That was it. The rest of them, I don't know. It's not been pretty. But yeah, just defensively, I think that was the most vindicating. Like, we're going to be all right. That was a game where you can look at it and go, we're going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. Fangio's got a lock on this. The players have responded to what happened last week. And they came out fired up. And they played hard and they got it done. So there's your credit for that. And before we get to the offense, let's get to some of your comments. Josh saying Bryce Huff got benched. Renita Fern, nice to see you in the stream. I'll say this over and over. This team, the guys won in spite of Sirianni. That's the ethos. That's the main takeaway here. That it's just overcoming constant bullshit. And it's not changing. Like, again, I'm trying to save the heavy rant because I don't want to scream at you 8 minutes into a stream. One other good thing there that Lucas picks out, which is a fantastic observation, that Jeff Stoutland's doing wonders with the O-line. You wouldn't have known that the Eagles were down Mekhi Becton and down Lane Johnson for most of that second half. Fred Johnson, who I was openly critical of in preseason for looking a bit useless, brilliant. Again, I'm not going to stop using that word tonight because some of these players were exceptional. Tyler Steen, again, another one who we pointed out in preseason, didn't win that job over Becton. It was his job. That was his job to lose, and he lost it, and it sucked. And you sat there wondering what the future holds for him, and is it going to be another year, another 2 years until he's ready? Gets dropped into that game, plays absolutely, I wouldn't say dominantly, but clinically. Like, he did his job, and I think that was the most important thing. To lose 2 starters on an offensive line and still run the ball like they did with Saquon at times was chef's kiss. What are we, Dev in England? We're not going to address the mayonnaise bottle to your back right, just sat there. Yeah, I should put that in the fridge, to be honest. I mean, I had takeaways during the game, so I had like there's like chocolate down there. I'm in my man cave era. All right, I'll sort it. I'm like a 15-year-old boy. I'll just like lob it at a wall and it will rebound into the fridge and we'll be fine. I can't put it on stream. I can't be doing that, but I promise you after the stream, it will be returned to its rightful place in the fridge. And talking of being returned to his rightful place, Nick Sirianni needs to be returned to whatever planet he was imported from, because the alien invasion is now over. We've sussed out what's going on, that he's not part of this human race, that he cannot think on the same consciousness of most of us, and therefore he must be a Martian and be exported to Pluto, because I cannot go through this every single week. Like, this was a game where Saquon Barkley was worth every single penny that you pay him. It's a generational running back doing generational things on a weekly basis to just change the game. And there was one play that didn't work out last week and it cost them. But at the end of it all, when all was said and done, There were a million other mistakes that led to that. And it did not take the Eagles long to start doing it again. I don't even want to talk about the decision to not kick that field goal at the end of the first half. But I have to, because it's important. And there is a sick part of me inside. There is this horrible little voice here in the back of my head, a little evil Liam, a little demonic devil Liam saying, I kind of wish the Eagles lost that game because maybe they'd have fired Sirianni and we'd be better in the long run. But because they won and because they carry on, we have to endure this mess for longer. And when he gets to the postseason, I don't trust him. I do not trust that the play call. And this is the other thing, is that everyone's quick to, I guess, evaporate blame off of him because he's not calling the plays anymore. But he still makes the decisions. It's his call whether he goes for it, whether he doesn't. He still has a say in it. He's still the one that's, moving the offense. He has one job now. He got stripped of play calling because he was pathetic at it. He has one job, which is literally, in essence, to pay attention. You got one job. Watch the game and manage it. Yeah? Watch what happens. And on those 2 or 3 moments where you've got to decide whether you take points and tie a game up or go for it, make the right call. Not just randomly spin a roulette wheel. And that is where he's at now. The other calls outside of that, like forget the over-aggression, or they went for it 4th down obviously late on and that cost them. That almost cost them the game. That decision to go for it on 4th and just absolutely blow it again. That's not even the crux of it. You have got an offense right now that on 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 6 is running the football, and on anything more than 3rd and 6 are throwing curl routes short of the pylon. What are we doing? Running it on 3rd and 6 is... I know it's Saquon Barkley. I know he's a remarkable running back, and he has proven that every single game we've seen him in Philadelphia so far. But that you cannot expect him to go 3rd and 18, yeah, put Saquon in. 3rd and 29, yeah, Saquon will do it. That's not what he's there for. You've got a functioning offense. You should have an elite quarterback. You should have an elite receiving tandem when healthy. Dallas Goedert proved today he's still a top 10 tight end. You've got a top 10 offensive line. You don't have to run the ball on 3rd and 6. And a decision to do so is just bizarre. And then you've got the other ones with these 3rd downs. Again, where they're short and you're just lobbing them short. You could be 2nd and 12 and it's a clutch situation. That final drive almost never happened. It was only because Dallas Goedert broke off a run. Before that, it was looking a bit wavy. They got saved by a couple of big moments. But every offensive drive looked just really poorly constructed. And it's what I said the other day, that this is not a team. It is a group of men being survived at the minute by individual excellence on offense. I'll exclude the defense now. I think they've proven as a group that they are more than up to the challenge, that they've got it figured out. The scheme is working. They've got the personnel. There isn't a disconnect between the players executing the scheme and the scheme that's being implemented. It can work. It will work. It's just a case of working out the kinks. On offense, I haven't got a clue. Because Sirianni will continue to go for it on 4th and 1. The tush push one was bizarre, to be honest with you, at 4th and 1. But I cannot get over the play call to back out of the play or call an audible. Now, I don't want to be too hard on him because I don't know if he saw the alignment and maybe tried to call a timeout, or if Jalen Hurts called the audible, or if that was the play call all along. But if you're in a situation where you're lined up for a brotherly shove and you're seeing something that's not right, and your audible is to run backwards and not just call a timeout, stupid. Late in the game, they called a timeout for delay of game on that final drive. That almost cost them, because they wouldn't have had enough to stop New Orleans, and it could have been... I just saw this exact rerun of what happened last week repeating itself in the Superdome. And they luckily got away with it because Reed Blankenship made a special play, because Jalen Carter made special plays, because Quinion Mitchell made special plays, because Saquon Barkley made special plays. It does not overwrite the atrocity of penalties, the abundance of them, the terrible decision-making that is constantly hounding this team. And now, just to sprinkle even a bit more fuel onto the fire since we're heating up, whatever Jalen Hurts is doing. Now, admittedly, towards the end of that game, he looked a bit more prominent. He looked a bit more comfortable. But that was far from the quarterback that we've come to know and love. That's not the MVP candidate of 2022. That's not the man that got paid the $150 million contract. I don't know who this guy is. To me, that was Carson Wentz. Just none of it feels in sync, in rhythm, with reason. Jalen Hurts is now riding a 7-game streak with turnovers. He has the most turnovers of any quarterback since the beginning of last year. And for someone that is so well-versed and can speak so eloquently about being accountable and learning from his mistakes and getting better and refining the process, to continue to do the same bozo ball techniques is confounding. And it makes no sense. And again, we've hit a point, unfortunately, with Jalen where there are no excuses. A couple of years ago, it was, he's never really had the same offensive coordinator for more than a year. He's never had someone he's got a connection with that he trusts, that he can build a long-term floor with. They had that with Brian Johnson. He went. And it was, Brian Johnson held Jalen Hurts back. Now you bring in Kellen Moore, someone that elevated very prominent quarterbacks. They who must not be named. One in particular who we will not discuss on this stream for obvious reasons. But he's got a great track record. And the offense brings in motion. And you give him a generational running back. And you give him the best receiving tandem in football, potentially. And you still find a way to make ridiculous turnovers, to miss open touchdowns, to be, whenever you roll out left, it's somehow an automatic interception, fumble, intentional grounding. Like, he can't roll out left. When he rolls out right, it's too late. He's standing in the pocket too long, just bouncing up and down stagnantly. There's no movement in his body as he's rolling through the reads. He's just sort of stood there like a predetermined Madden animation where you drop your controller because your mum's calling you for dinner and you just sit there like that. That's not the Jalen Hurts that we've come to appreciate in Philadelphia. And I don't know what's gone on there, whether it's mechanical. I know he had that off-season thing where he went through a training regime. I think it was last year. I don't know. But it's not the guy that is being paid that money. And that has to change. There has to be introspective looking here from Hurts because none of that was acceptable. At best, today's play was average. At worst, it was costly. The play calling today at best was average. At worst was costly. And the defense and individual excellence like Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert single-handedly saved that game and ground out a win. Which, again, is all that matters. That the fact is that they won. But you can't also just come into that game with the mindset of it doesn't matter how we win as long as we win. Because if you're winning like that, that's not sustainable. That's not a win. That is saving your ass from blowing. Like, how many teams in the NFL do you think really could come into a game like that in the second half down 3 points and not put up a single one? Like, if you've seen the numbers from that game, like the stats of the passing yards, the rushing yards, and the Saints have nothing, and the Eagles have everything. This isn't a fluke game where both teams are making a ton of errors and it's snowy and it's rainy and the Saints just happen to have got a field goal. The Saints were being dominated. They couldn't win at the line of scrimmage. They couldn't win their matchups at wide receiver. The Eagles would drive down to the opposing 40, drive down to the opposing 30, and cock it up every time, religiously. 60-yard drive, gone. 50-yard drive, gone. 55-yard drive, gone. No points. And as much as, Wynn says here, it has 9 incompletions and a 300-yard passing, let's be fair. Fair is fair. It was a good day. But it could have easily been a lot worse. And I guarantee if they'd lost that game, I don't care if he's thrown for 350. Like, it was costly. I think the second half was much better. I think, again, the first half was very Jalen focused. I think he made a lot more costly errors decision-wise in that first half. He was much more... It was the same with last week, though. There was that 9-minute drive against Atlanta where they drove down in the fourth quarter, took all the time off the clock, got the score, engineered perfectly by Jalen Hurts. He wasn't as good as that drive, but the basics were there. He moved the ball well. And considering that he was without Smitty, he was without AJ, he was having to lean on Dallas Goedert constantly, I think he did pretty well. But it doesn't excuse the fact that this is a $150 million elite quarterback that should be heralded as a top 5 in this league and at times acts like a rookie. Like, they're not mutually exclusive. Yes, he had a good day in the long run. The bad day was a loss, and I don't think anyone's really caring about because you could the way I would word that is that to me feels like the kind of comment, and I'm not directing it this to you personally, but it's the kind of comment I would make about Sam Bradford, right? When Sam Bradford in 2015 would have the highest completion percentage of any quarterback in the NFL and have like 69%, and, you know, throw for 320 yards or whatever, but the team would suck. And everyone was like, well, he's not great. I'm like, yeah, but he's accurate. He's completing all these passes. He's keeping it short. He's, you know, working with what he's got. And then it's, well, no, he's just not that great. Like, I don't know what you're seeing. And it feels like that. So I don't know. I think there's a balance to the Jalen Hurts argument where, yeah, all right, he's not great. But he's also not terrible. Like, he was good in that second half. I think given the fact that he was without those two receivers and he was down to bare bones and riding a running back and a tight end, he was good. He was solid. And he made, that's what I'll say, that he made up for the earlier woes. But you also just can't keep repeating them because the likes of Patrick Mahomes, the likes of Joe Burrow, the likes of the big names in this league just don't do that. They're just at a consistent floor, and Hurts isn't. But what we say there, and he had his deep shots too. He was much better down the field today. There wasn't a terrible misfire. Like I'm glad that they were encouraged to take deep shots and mix them in because it felt like they were invisible for most of last week. Duck says Eagles offense is like a Ferrari. It looks good and fast and amazing, but it might not get you to what you're going out in the shop more than you're driving it. Exactly. Like there's got to be a limit here. What have the big names done this year? Yeah, no, that is also, yeah, fair enough. But I mean, just in general. But I mean, it does, okay. But you could also then name that to, all right, we'll take those big names out since it's not this year and look at Sam Darnold. And I don't want to compare Jalen Hurts to Sam Darnold because you all know Sam Darnold's not an elite quarterback. But you know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know. He played well. Hurts recovered. He made up for those earlier misfires and the fumble and the dodgy plays. We know he's got it there. We just need to see. I think, I'm not sure whether it's a confidence thing or what, but I think given the fact that the second half, he worked without Becton, he worked without Steen, and he worked without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and still orchestrated the drive he did, you've got to tip your hat off, but it also doesn't excuse the errors. It's like you've broke even, You've put $3,000 on a blackjack hand, lost it, put your last $30 on roulette, and come out with 360. You've put that on whatever and made back $3,000. You leave the casino even. Well done. You haven't come out a winner. Like that's the way I see it. Is like when you're paying someone $150 million, that's not the standard. You that's not it. That's year 2 Jalen Hurts. That's year 3 Jalen Hurts. If we're even being, a little bit honest. To have 3 weeks of this, and it is a pattern, it is not a one-game isolated incident, there has to be more from him. And that's okay. I'm glad he recovered. I'm glad he broke even. I'm glad he got back his losses and he can walk out of the casino to fight another day. But it doesn't mean that wasn't one scary ride when he was down $300 at the blackjack table and it turns to $600. But yeah, I mean, this is a very valid point. That's a very valid point. Because I think you've already seen, friction between the two. A lot of it I've tried to downplay as much as you can because they are just very different people. That they're very different people. One's very happy and lovely and bubbly, and the other one's just stone cold, locked in, ready to get after it. And they clash, right? But when that becomes an issue on the field, I think then fair enough. Like, I think there was even an example today with Hurts and Sirianni speaking, and the two just looked a little bit tense. And I don't know. It's difficult to say, but I also wouldn't be overly shocked. Like, it's it's hard when you're probably, if you've got a view as a quarterback to maybe, all right, look, we're not going for it here. All right, let's just kick the field goal. It's near halftime. We're down 3. We can tie it up. We get the ball. Let's just get after it. And Sirianni goes, no, we're going to run it. We're going to run it. So, what? Why? We're going to run it. Like, I understand why that frustration will grow. I understand why on 3rd and 6, when you're running out of the shotgun, the frustration will grow. I understand when you're 3rd and 9 and you're throwing a slant underneath, the frustration will grow. You know, so I wouldn't be. The thing is, okay, I'll say this with Jalen Hurts. I've been a big defender of his for a while, like in terms of play. I don't think I'm, you know, I've tried to make as many reasonable, like, not excuses, but reasons why things maybe haven't been firing on all cylinders for all of last year as I can, because I do see the good in him. I think he's a fantastic young quarterback who can be one of the very best of this decade. Maybe obviously a bit before, who knows? But there is also just that time of like, well, look, you've got everything now. It's time to get it, and it's not happening. And I think you can look at Sirianni and say, well, maybe it's a trust thing. I sometimes question Sirianni myself in terms of coaching style. I wonder if he's too, I don't think soft's the word, but I think maybe malleable might be, in terms of what the front office want and what the other players need. I mean, Doug Peterson was very calm and very warm and very embracing to his players, but there were times where there was this real tenacious aggression. And as a former NFL quarterback, I think you just kind of see it. Like, you see that in him as someone that's been there and he understands how to get the players to respond. And I wonder if just Sirianni is a bit too placid, I suppose, at times. And maybe that's part of it. But those are things for another day. But Josh, that is also a very, very good point. Yeah, like, Jalen Hurts is not the man under the most fire here. I promise. You know, like, for me, it's obviously Nick Sirianni. Like, I'm looking at no one else. But it's still obviously fair to expect a little bit better. But I think when you expect, it wasn't a whole game of it. You know, like we said, that second half was good. He responded pretty well. He led that huge drive with minimal weapons around him and got it done. So I don't think we can sit and be too sort of, you know, disappointed with his play. Like, yes, there's room for improvement, but if you take the back end of that Falcons game and the back end of that Saints game and you put them together, that's everything the Eagles could ever need him to be. It's just trying to do it over a consistent period. I'm just going to quickly have a drink because I am running out of... I think my throat's going to sound like a frog any minute. Right. Moving on. Saints played dirty. Yeah, I'd say the hit was egregious on Smitty. I don't know how that didn't get called, to be honest with you. It was all a little bit... I know it was hit in the back, but the most of the... Like, you could be hit in the back, but with a player that big, most of the contact is in the head. So I don't understand why that wasn't necessarily called. But the Saints have always been like that, really. They just are a bit nasty, aren't they, in terms of their play? They are a bit dirty. So the main thing is, in that regard, that you get the win and you get the win clean. You know, that it doesn't come down to, yeah, but that was a call. It didn't get called and we should have won. Like, the Eagles won. I always kind of ponder this to myself when writing articles the next day and the next week and stuff. It's like, obviously, I've got a view as to what happened from the Eagles' perspective and what my takeaways are from the game, right? Like, should we be excited about the fact they won? Should we be worried about the way in which they won? I wonder what the Saints are going to take out of that. Like, if you're a Saints beat writer, what are you writing the next day? That, oh, well, that was actually a really good effort because the Eagles are a championship level team and we only lost and, you know, the offense wasn't great, but the defense was outstanding? Or are they going to be like, oh my God, they didn't score a point for like 3/4 of the game and we blew it? And I think that perspective just maybe makes you wonder, like, well, the Eagles the Eagles were lucky not to lose. You know, they were saved at the end. And I think on that regard, we need to just quickly hit on Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley. I haven't actually got the numbers for both of them, so I'll quickly get them up. I've not seen Dallas Goedert that active in about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. You know, like, that was an incredible day at the office from Dallas Goedert. You know, someone that many have clamored to replace or move on from or find a younger option, and none of it's happened. 170 receiving yards, 170 on 11 targets, 10 receptions. Obviously, most of them came on that 61-yard play, but just a really great day to have Dallas Goedert do that. You know, if there was any concern, I suppose, long term about Dallas Goedert, they should have been evaporated in that game, because he can still do it. I just think he is very much lost in an offense where you've got two dominant wideouts and a dominant running back. Like, you're not going to get the attention of a more prolific weapon. And I would say Travis Kelce, but even he's not done very much. Like, I think all the tight ends seem to be struggling from what I've seen this year in terms of production. Like, there just isn't that many targets out there for them at the minute. But yeah, Dallas Goedert had a huge day and might be a career day. I'm not sure. I kind of want to look at it now, but you've got to go back to like 8 years worth of game logs. Because you would, can I be asked? I'll do it for an article, but I think that was a career day. What's up, Ryan? Let's go. I love that. The thing with Jalen, says Lucas, is we have all we need is a consistent 7, but it's just way too up and down. 100%. I'm trying to get to some of your comments that I might have missed. Happy Sunday, Daniel Berry. Nice to see you, man. We'll touch on Saquon just shortly. Saquon 3 rushes with 6 minutes left of the first half, which is crazy. But they all came good in the end. A says, go Birds. He's happy. I'm just trying to make sure I haven't missed any. Epic Men 36. I've not seen you in the stream before, but thank you for hanging out. He's going to get better. We played a great defense that was beating them. We'll see. Jalen cooked my parlay. Oh, man, mine was dead. I had a 3-team parlay of, who did I have? I had the Chargers and I had the Bucks. And I've not checked the final scores, but I am convinced that they're dead. Barring like a late turnaround. I'll just let me have a look now. Go on, give me a sign of life. Did the Chargers win? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. So that was brilliant. So I had a fantastic day at the office, going 2 for 3. So that was brilliant. Let's be honest, this team should be 3-0. Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, why I don't want to be so, like, it's obviously important to debate Jalen Hurts, and like, I get that we have to, because he's the quarterback and the face of the team. But it's just really not on him. It's just not. Like, you go back to week 1. They didn't kick that field goal in the first half. They lose by 3 points. And it's a game of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. They should have kicked that field goal. They also nearly bozoed themselves into like a 14, 17 nothing point deficit within 2 minutes of the first half. Week 2, dodgy. Bad calls at the end. Bad calls throughout. A crazy decision on that 4th down to try and swing it out to Saquon, and that backfired, and just compounded with a game, again, of questionable decisions on 3rd and 4th down. 3rd and 8 QB sneak happened, by the way, in the red zone. 3rd and 8. Week 3 against the Saints, a high-octane offense, and your defense is holding them at every turn. They're fighting like Hodor in Game of Thrones to keep them stable, and all you can do is run it on 3rd and 4, run it on 3rd and 6, go for it on 4th and 3 and fuck it up, go for it on 4th and 5 and fuck it up, miss the field goal, don't even bother going for the field goal at the end of the first half to tie the game and finally get some momentum back. What are they going to do if they even convert that, by the way? What was the plan? You had 14 seconds left. So you're going to, 4th and 3, get the first down. You've got 8 yards to get, around 8 yards to get, with 14 seconds left. You're just going to have another shot or two. And Jalen Hurts has already thrown, or would have thrown a pick later on in the red zone, as we saw. It's not like the Eagles were firing on all cylinders at that point. It's not like they were the prime Kansas City Chiefs at that point. They were more akin to whatever is going on with the Carolina Panthers offensively at that point. There was nothing. So you have 14 seconds left. And on that note, right, and I got a glimpse of it there from Duck. I want to say this as well, okay? You pay Jake Elliott good money. You have got one of the best kickers, if not the best kickers in the NFL. You have got the best kicker in Eagles history on your team, and you've just given him a lovely payday, and you refuse to use him. You've surrendered 9 points through 3 games by not kicking field goals. You've lost one of them. You almost lost the second one, and you very nearly lost the third one. Why is Jake Elliott even there? And the only time you do lose him is when you're 73 yards away, it feels like. You're like, yeah, Jake, give it a go, will you? Just knock it in from 65, Jake. Cheers, boss. Have a good one, mate. Like, I know he's generational, but you can't be relied on to do that 24/7. In the same way, you cannot lean on Saquon Barkley to run on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and get first downs. That's not what you're there for. You're there for the 27-yard field goals. You're there for the 3rd and 2s. And there is just no rhyme or reason as to how these players are or aren't being used, where they're aggressive, where they're conservative. Because in the same breath of not going for it on a 4th down and punting away or whatever, they'll then make a bozo decision the next drive to launch a ball 50 yards down the field and get picked off. Or they'll go for it one drive and it'll pay off and you're like, fantastic, lovely. And then the next drive, they'll rush it on 3rd and 9. And it feels like every action has a reaction. Whenever Sirianni is aggressive, thou must be conservative. Whenever he's conservative, he will now be aggressive. There is no balance to it. It's like he's just going off of vibes and vibes alone. And when you get a kicker as good as Jake Elliott and you can't get the most out of him, because you refuse to use him. I'm not sure if he's lost a leg or something this offseason, if there's a reason why he's not being trusted to kick the field goals, but it just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. Eagles will run it a lot on one drive where it's working well, then they always turn from the run and pass it 7 to 8 times in a row. Yeah, definitely. That's another thing. It just comes down to rhythm. And I don't think a lot of it, if I'm honest, helps with the options and the RPOs and that sort of stuff, where you could argue that maybe they should have run the ball 5-10 times more that game. And we don't know how many of those decisions are on Jalen Hurts. We don't know how many of those decisions are on, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, or obviously Kellen Moore. But you just can't have that many bad decisions without consequence. Now, the Eagles have beat the Saints, which is great. You've now got a game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which, they've just got their ass handed to them by Denver. Hopefully that might ignite them some confidence, because they're going to need it. There is a chance now that they can rally on a little bit here, go into Tampa Bay on the road at Raymond James Stadium, make a statement, and just get it all right for 1 week. Just all of it right. Jalen's on his A game, whatever receivers they've got, because they could be down to bare bones here, they're on their A game. The offensive line does its job. Saquon is Saquon, and you roll. And the defense repeats its effort from this week, and they will roll through any team in this league. And the one thing stopping that from happening is the one man at the head of the table who just continues to put them in negative yards, negative situations, subtracting gains, adding losses, and just compounding this mess of a game that the individual stars on this team have to play out of their ass to break away from. Meanwhile, apparently, Nelson Aguilar just cooked the Dallas defense. So, honorary Eagle for life, Nelson Aguilar, Super Bowl champion. What a man. Love to see it. Love to see it. What a baller. I knew this would happen. That's why I said what I said about the start in the season, playing the NFC ops, winging it preseason style. Hang on, sorry, I'm a bit tired. I knew this would happen. That's why I said what I say about starting the season playing the NFC opponents. They're winging it preseason style. That's fair. I mean, I don't know though, because I was bought in to the Saints. I think, especially after last week, I thought, again, week 1, you could potentially put down to being a bit of a fluke because it's the Panthers. But they cooked Dallas. They absolutely decimated the Cowboys. The good news, talking of decimating the Cowboys, is that if they're out on a bit of a rocky period as well, if they're struggling, then maybe, just maybe, the NFC East is going to come down to... there is a situation where Washington can win the NFC East. That in itself is absolutely terrifying. I can't think of much worse. But 3 weeks in, I mean, it's anyone's apart from the Giants. Like they are well and truly out. But like, if the Giants struggle, that's all the Eagles need. Like, it doesn't matter how they get there, as long as they get into the postseason, tidy it up by then. Like, we're talking about tidying up, not having to rebuild the entire roster from the ground up. So, I have faith that they can do that. I have faith in this team to get it sorted, because we've seen it. Like, if you just take the best bits from every game, you've got one of the most complete teams in the entire league. We know they've got that in the locker. We just have to do it. Dallas 1-2, we're 2-1. That'd be wild considering our panic. Our panic has to do with last year's mess. We're evaluating Sirianni on every level because of last year and the things reported. 100%. But you know, the game, it's make your bed, sleep in it for Sirianni. Like, if you act like a bozo, you get treated like a bozo. And there are going to be things said and expectations because you haven't met them previously. SMH TV, which is probably a good, name considering that the game we've just watched. Jalen's turnovers are a problem, but definitely something you can work on. But Nick's coaching and confidence of the locker room is on life support. Yeah, I wonder for someone like Saquon Barkley, who came from a dysfunctional organization, a terribly run New York Giants front office who were willing to get rid of him, and there was just never a plan offensively. The offensive line was always in tatters. Like, they couldn't run the ball. They kept playing Daniel Jones. They didn't get any receivers. And he was just stuck in holding. Essentially, he was just stuck in his holding pen for the first chapter of his career. But someone that's seen that disarray and comes to Philadelphia for a fresh start and sees echoes of the same, not exactly the same. Like, we're not being dramatic here. I'm not saying the Eagles are a poorly run franchise, because they're far from it. But in terms of the coaching and the lack of just consistent coaching and the play calling being just sporadic as anything, I wonder if the alarm bells are ringing for him, and to ring those same alarm bells for the quarterback, so that they can come together and just commandeer the offense, just audible everything like what happened last year, you know? Make your own destiny. Sirianni calls a play or Kellen Moore calls a play, fucking run it. You know, if he calls a pass and it's deep, run it. Don't care. Just do what you need to do, sort of thing, you know? If anyone decides to pick Juwan Jennings on waivers this week, congratulations, you're winning your fantasy matchup. I want to buy in our fantasy league, and I'm winning that, so that fills me with joy. Yeah, love that. But I thought I had Juwan Jennings. Or did I not? Is that my other league? I don't know. I thought I had him. Oh, I'm thinking of... No, I'm thinking of someone else. Ignore me. Oh, no, that's fine. Okay, yeah, ignore me. Yeah, so overall, it's all right. They won. They survived. The Eagles survived that, really. Like, I don't think there's any words to describe what that game was other than just sloppy and disappointing. Disappointing, because the defense played its ass off. The defense was nothing short of exceptional. And I've said that word a lot today, but I cannot state enough how impressed I am with that Eagles defense. I thought they were magnificent across the board. Quinyon Mitchell, to step up the way he has over the last 3 weeks, has been sensational. I think Jalen Carter again had a fantastic game. Zach Bourne, a few absolutely huge plays, hitting the head with a football as well, which looked like, boing, which was kind of funny. Took the weight out of the fact it was a massive reception, The Kobe Dean, outside of one play, as we said, looked good. Darius Slay looked all right. He looked very solid. I'm not going to, pat him on the back too much. You might tweet about it, but I think he was all right. Safeties were good. Again, Reed Blankenship had the big play. You go on the defensive line. Milton Williams stepped up. Carter stepped up. I want to see snap counts for Bryce Huff, because I really don't recall seeing him. I know Josh said he got benched. Was he a healthy scratch, or was he not? Or was that a joke? Because he might as well have been, because I didn't see a single play out there for it. I remember seeing Nolan Smith out there for a bit, but I don't recall seeing anyone on the edge, to be honest. I think they just kept loading up with 19 defensive tackles, it felt like. But it worked. It stops the run and stunts them against, the likes of Alvin Kamara. But yeah, it was a solid day at the office, mostly on defense. Offense, there's a lot to clean up, and that's obviously going to, come out over the next couple of weeks. But Greg says, I'm impressed with Kellen's play calling. It's just the execution. Jalen's pressing early in games. I wonder if that's the reason why. Like maybe there's just a pressure to get out to a hot start, to get a quick start and get points on the board. And it's just kind of forcing the error. It's forcing the issue. And it's maybe just... But having said that, I need to go back and look at how the first drives are formed. Because obviously they're the ones that are scripted. Like they're not the ones where they're being freewheeled. Like there is a script usually for the first two drives. So yeah, I need to work out what the deal is with those. But from what I can remember of like the first 3 weeks, it just feels like Saquon Barkley doesn't get a touch. And I know he did on this one, but it was an option week. But it feels like they go very pass heavy for that first, series, 2 series, 3 series. So yeah, maybe something for the Eagles to lock into and try and figure out. I forget his name, but 59 on defense was doing good. 59? Who's 59? I'm having a complete blank. 59. It's not Bam, but Bourne's 53. Who's 59? Johnson? Patrick Johnson? Let me have a look. Booker. Oh, is he not 95? Is it Thomas Booker's 59? He is 59. My God, Brian, fair enough. What a shout that is. Sorry, I was just completely blindsided by the fact that 59 is a defensive... That is disgusting. 59 as a defensive tackle. Maybe Thomas Booker should book in a call with the Eagles media department because you cannot be running around with 59 on your back. 59? What we're going to see next, cornerbacks for number 97. Grow up. Game's gone. The game is gone. Now, where's Marshawn Lynch? He's not been in here tonight. I don't think he's been in here, to be honest. I think he's gone. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, I think I've got a rash on my leg because I've had a... I don't know what I'm saying on stream. I think the washing up powder I use is giving me an itch and it's really not pleasant to stream while it's like scratching away at it. But yeah, no, he had... Oh, he called me delusional for saying the Saints will win. Oh, you're just coming to tell him well done. Give him his flowers. Did you bet money on him? Have you got to pay him a Wonga loan back or something? Oh, saying the Eagles will win. Oh, so I see you've come to collect a receipt. Your New Jersey Giants get a passing touchdown today. But yeah, for those that want to read the recap on phillysportsnetwork.com, I believe it's up. Let me just check. Yeah. So if anyone wants to read the words of Super Brian Cameron, you can. That is our recap from today. Obviously, the Eagles, as we say, pull off a 15-12 win over the New Orleans Saints somehow, some way. I still don't really understand how it happened, but it happened. It didn't ever feel like a comeback. It just felt like... it never felt like they were losing either, which obviously they were, and it was only 3 points. But I think that's just a testament to the defense. Like, it never felt that the game was ever out of reach or that, this was over, it's bad. The Saints would like get into the red zone and then completely bollocks it up because the defense was that good. Nick said it was his call and his call alone to go for it on 4th down. Brilliant. Well, he had an opportunity there, didn't he, to get himself out of the spotlight and, throw his coach under the bus. And I respect the fact that he hasn't, but he's also, stupid, I would say. Not in like a mean way. I don't want to call a head coach stupid. They're obviously very intelligent, but I feel like the thing is with taking risks is they have to be calculated. Otherwise, they're not risks. They're just like outright improbabilities. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the same way as, again, like blackjack, for example. There's calculated risks of when you hit and when you stand. If you hit on 12 or something, it's up to you. Whether it's card counting. Like, the difference between what Nick Sirianni should be doing and what I should be doing is that when I play blackjack, I'm just going, yeah, hit that, stun that, yeah. And Sirianni should have the knowledge and understanding to say, well, there's been 6 of these high cards that have come out in the last 4 rounds. I think that's going to be low. Therefore, I'm going to be aggressive with my call. And he doesn't. He just goes with whatever feels good in the moment. And, turns around, sees a fan smiling and goes, yeah, brotherly shove. Yeah, this is for you, buddy. But run it up, boys. And they're like, 3rd and 9, Nick. Yeah, brotherly shove. Come on, brotherly shove. Like, Nick, the game's on the line. It's 3rd and 9. We needed a touch. Yeah, shoving it. Like, there's just never a... I don't get it, because if he's not calling plays, that he's still making the key decisions, that's equally as damaging. And that's also, if I'm honest, that might even be a disconnect in defense of Sirianni. Like, and I'm not trying to defend him here, because believe me, he's circled in red in his hit list #1. But if you are trying to manage a game and call plays, you've got the feel, right? It's the same way, you know, caddying for a golf game without hitting the shots is, you can't get a non-golfer to caddy for you, like, because they don't know what all the clubs do and where they go and how far they go and the heights and the distance. You just can't do it. You need someone that understands it, and Sirianni should, but he doesn't have the feel on it. And I'd equate it to that same sort of thing as like a caddy. It's like, it's very much hands back, and you know, just sort of watching, and you don't feel the momentum of the game when you're not in it and understanding what Kellen Moore's, well, assuming they don't communicate, which definitely seems to be the case, of what Moore's trying to do. And if Moore is set up a 4th and 3 to kick a field goal and you go for it, I'd be absolutely incandescent with rage if I was Kellen Moore. You get that offense down the field. You get them into a point-scoring position to end the half, and your head coach goes, "Yeah, cheers, Kellen. I'm going to take it from here, boy. Yeah, over there. Off you go. I've got this one. This one's on me. Go for it." What? Go for it now. Yeah, run it. Like, it just, the more I think about it, the angrier I get, which isn't, you know, a good look. But yeah, on that note, I'm going to cut this stream a tiny bit short. I know we normally go for an hour, but yeah, I need to get some cream sorted, because I think I'm coming up in like a massive rash and I really don't feel good. So I need to sort this out, because I actually know what it is and I'm a little bit nervous. I think it's just washing up like powder, like, you know, things you put in the washing machine. But my skin is like just bubbling and I don't know what it is. So I need to go and sort that before I, you know, turn into the blueberry off of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But the main thing is that the Eagles have won. The Cowboys are fumbling and losing, and it's all tremendous over there. The Eagles survive, and they can work and fix things. And I'd like to think you can only go up from here. Like, the floor is the floor now. We've seen offensive inconsistencies for 2 weeks. We know what the ceiling can be. Let's just get it going. All right. The defense played lights out. I would marry every single player on it if I could. Vic Fangio, I've changed my mind. You're a fantastic human being. You know exactly what you're doing. And you can also marry me for that. But offense, it sucks more because they've got that many good players. But on a day where they were without Becton, a day they were without Johnson, Smitty, and AJ Brown for times, they came through in the end when it mattered. They got the job done. And we can go into Monday morning knowing the Eagles are positive in the win column. They're 2-1. They could have been even 3-0. And that's a good spot to be, right? Let's get the problems ironed out now so you can make a run in the season, and we'll take it from there. But still plenty needs to change for that to happen. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Again, apologies for no watch along this evening. I should have a new iPad charger tomorrow. So we'll be good for the next one, which I believe is next Sunday. Is it 4 p.m. next Sunday? I can't actually remember if it's 4 p.m. or not. It doesn't even say on here, which is fantastic. I'll figure it out. I can have a look. Someone's going to get to it before me because they've got like the team schedule as their background, which is what I should really do. Oh, no, 1 p.m. All right, another 1 p.m. game. That's fine. Cool. Right. Go Birds. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for hanging out again and being patient from earlier. If you could leave a like on your way out of the theatre and drop your popcorn in the bin, that would be sensational. Guys, I love you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy your Sunday night football knowing that the Eagles have won. And tomorrow we can rant about them all over again. Take care. Go Birds. See you later.